For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here on The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in today. Well, how about those presidential town halls last night? And if you're tuning in on October 16th, it was the dueling debates or the dueling town halls on ABC and NBC with Trump and Biden. But lots of reaction around the world, and that's also because the networks decided to pit each other against the other and really divide viewers. And I guess that sort of rubbed voters the wrong way, because the whole debate is supposed to be about hearing the two candidates battle it out and allowing people to make an informed decision. Well, when you go and upstage and you're competing for ratings, it kind of defeats the purpose. So I'm going to talk about my thoughts on that and how people were responding on Twitter Thursday night for that. And also, too, now that the seasons have changed, it's getting darker earlier, it's getting colder. I want to know how your body is reacting to that. More details on that coming up in just a little bit. And injuries. And I don't know if it's an age thing or an old thing, but I'm going to talk about how I had an injury with my thumb and then my feet. And just kind of the way your body reacts to that. It's kind of crazy to think. And it's also been 1 year since I had a very interesting Canadian Thanksgiving, and there was crazy weather in Winnipeg, my hometown, and then in Los Angeles, where I was at the time, and why people were concerned for my well-being. And 2 years ago, when I was in Panama, and people were thinking that I was in the middle of a hurricane. So all these stories are coming up on The Scribble, and it starts right after this.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. As a Canadian, I love chiming in on American politics. So let's go. And I'm not overly political, even in Canada. So during the last election, I remember getting all of the... I was mocking mostly Trump because we thought, admittedly, there's no way Americans would be stupid enough to elect him. And so I was mocking him. And I guess even I mocked him throughout his term as president. There were so many times when people would fire back on Twitter and call me a bitter Hillary supporter, and I would always just laugh, because that was always the go-to insult. That was always kind of the default, was you don't like Trump, so you automatically must be a Hillary supporter, and you're pissed because she didn't win. Well, meanwhile, I didn't vote. I didn't care. I didn't give two shits about it. And so so people just kind of came on the attack, and again, we watch from a distance in Canada, quite honestly. It's interesting to watch all of the newscasts, the cable news shows, and you have all these people. CNN, I guess, had one on, was it a week ago or so, about the way the world views, they said America. Now, here's the deal also. Let me just go back. Canadians and Mexicans, and I mean that by people in Canada and people in Mexico, actually a lot of times resent that saying America thing, because we're all North America. You're the United States of America. So America, you might just be using that as a short, that's your cool name, right? That's your nickname, is America. Well, we look at it completely different, though. It's like, well, we're all North America, 3 different countries. And so that's one thing. But anyway, it was fascinating because you always see these cable hosts going and saying, "Oh, no, the world is laughing at us right now. The world is, mocking us." And, "Oh, the world is," yeah, we sure are. We absolutely are. And on that CNN special, they were showing the clip of, Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, and I don't remember who it was. Was it the British Prime Minister? I don't remember who it was. But anyway, they were caught on tape mocking Trump and kind of laughing at him, literally laughing at him. And that was used sort of as the opening of this show. But at the same time, I mean, you kind of have to look at the ridiculousness of it and laugh. Yes, I realize that it's a very serious thing to elect somebody as the president of a country. I mean, that's a big deal. I'm certainly not making light of that. But, I mean, this is, a crooked businessman. Years ago in my hometown of Winnipeg, everybody kind of thought it would be great to elect a mayor who's a businessman and whatever. Well, it turns out he's got all these shady dealings on the side. Do I have to say allegedly? Because a bunch of his people, they've been through court and stuff like that. But anyway, we had a businessman who was doing side deals and was allegedly crooked and doing all these things, and then he kind of just disappeared into oblivion and, it just didn't... I don't know if he just didn't run again or what happened, but anyway, it was kind of like, you don't want a businessman, a trickster, And so going back to this, I guess it was the dueling town halls. And that, of course, 20-some days before the election. So that was Thursday. I'm talking about last night, by the way, if you're tuning into this on October 16th. But, ABC had the Biden one, and then NBC had the Trump one. So you've got the dueling town halls. Now, remember, this was supposed to be a debate between the two of them. Trump didn't want to do the one by video, Zoom or conference or whatever you call it. And ABC had signed on to do Biden, and then it was I think it was less than 48 hours, all of a sudden NBC makes this announcement that, hey, Savannah Guthrie from the Today Show is going to be talking to Trump in Florida, and there we go. So a couple things came from this. First off, the networks are competing for ratings. That's what they care about. Let's be honest, right? And at the same time, I actually kind of think that they sort of want Trump to win so that it gives them more hours and hours and hours of endless news coverage. Again, I'm in the media. I've been in broadcasting. I've been a newspaper columnist for 15 years. Again, I don't report on politics. That's just never been my thing. But from a news perspective, I could see them almost kind of wanting another Trump presidency. For news purposes is what I mean. So there's that, and of course people were... I saw on Thursday night, trending that NBC boycott or NBC backs Trump or NBC loves Trump or something like that, and NBC blackout were a couple of the hashtags that were trending. And so there is that big question, right? Because when you have these debates, it's mainly meant to be, I want to hear your answer, and then I want to hear the competitor's answer. I want to hear your opponent's answer. And I want to hear you challenge each other on that. Now, I don't want you speaking over each other and acting the fool. I still want to understand what I'm listening to. I want to know what I'm hearing. But I want you to question each other's records and what you've said in the past. And I want to have a healthy debate. That's the point of this thing. So it could have been handled different ways. You could have had ABC do their, because primetime is 3 hours. You could have had ABC do their hour and a half first, and then NBC do their hour and a half right after that. But no, of course, they're competing for ratings. Now, again, we do this show before the ratings come out at about noon East Coast time, or maybe about 11 in the morning on Fridays. I mean, every day. They come out every day at that time, but the Thursday ratings would come out Friday morning is what I'm saying. And so they're fighting for that. That's what the networks are caring about. But yes, for the sake of viewership and voters and the whole process of an election, you'd think that they would allow viewers the opportunity. Now, again, the defense could be, well, you can record one of them and watch it right after the other. I get that. That's technology. And that's I think, sort of the argument that people were making was, yeah, I can record one and watch the other one. Like, what's the big deal? But the point, though, is that you're almost making viewers decide, right? If your viewer is older and doesn't have a DVR, then, like my grandma, let's say, then you're actually really not helping her in the election process, right? And in deciding who she's going to vote for. Now, I also have the belief that most people, like, if you say at this point that you don't know who you're voting for, I call BS on that, because I think most people know. But yeah, the networks they're competing with each other, and the purpose of them featuring these town halls or debates is to do a service to the community, right? That you're supposed to be helping out the voters, make it an informed decision. But when you do this and make them choose, it does make me sort of question the authenticity of why you're doing what you're doing. NBC News can now go and say, yeah, we landed Trump for a primetime town hall. Well, great, but now look at people on social media calling for a boycott of your network. I mean, and in the world of cancel culture, that sort of goes a long way. Now, not to say that people are all of a sudden going to stop watching, Weakest Link because NBC is a terrible network. I'm not saying that, but it could happen. I mean, the viewership can go down, so you never really know, right? But tell me what you think about that. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com. I was sort of tweeting my random thoughts throughout the night on Thursday. And I did a poll at one point asking, are you watching the Biden, the Trump, or neither? And a bunch of people were actually messaging me and saying, well, I'm watching both. Now, I wanted to challenge them on that and say, I realize that, yes, you can technically be watching both, but which one are you making the priority? Because if you've got both of them on, that means that you're having to listen to two simultaneous things. I'm a broadcaster. I talk on the radio. I have people in my ear that talk for about 2 or 3 seconds. Any longer than that, I lose my train of thought, and then whoever I'm talking to as a guest on my show, right? So whoever's in my ear will make it quick, wrap it up, 30 seconds, 10 seconds, 5 seconds. It's that kind of stuff. They're not giving me full-on conversations. I don't know many people who can listen to two exact things, especially when it comes to like heavy political chatter, and digest that and whatever. Maybe when one's on a commercial break, then you flip to the other and you watch it for that 3 minutes, or you record it and then you pick up where you left off, or you flip-flop that way. But I don't know. Like, I appreciate the people who watched one and then watched the other one right after. That was actually kind of what I did. But again, not American. I have the ability to vote in the American election, but now it looks like my time is going to be spent mostly in Canada back home during the virus, right? I mean, I'm kind of enjoying the way things are playing out in Canada right now, in terms of, well, I mean, it's not to say the numbers are better, but they're getting worse. So anybody who wants to challenge me on that. But again, send me an email. What did you think about this town hall thing? live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. And of course, the celebrities. That's actually kind of what's entertaining about live tweeting. I mean, I don't live tweet very many things anymore, aside from Bachelor and Bachelorette. But I'm always fascinated at night then to kind of see the recap of the celebrity tweets from the debate or the town hall. And so, that was no different on Thursday night. So it's kind of interesting because I'm wondering now if the TV networks are viewing these more as entertainment than anything else. Like I said, I don't believe people haven't made up their mind already. I think that most people have a very strong opinion. Either I can't stand him, I'm not voting for him, so then my vote would go to that person, or I love him and I'm voting for him. I'm fairly certain that's where people are. Because now, again, as Americans, your politics, it's a never-ending conversation. I mean, for Canadians, I don't sit there and think about my political leaders like every single day. They are not dominating the newscasts. Now, again, outside of a corona year, they're not. Obviously, again, this year is different. But when you think about this election campaign for the Americans, it's really been going for about 3 years. I mean, it's kind of... it's never stopped. It was almost like, I think Trump declared he was going to run again, like right after his inauguration. Isn't that almost kind of when he already started campaigning again? So for people to complain and say that, I'm just sick of politics. Well, but the cable news networks wouldn't stack their primetime programming and have, Morning Joe talk about politics for 3 hours straight every single day if people weren't talking about it and not tuning in, And again, when Trump first was elected, well, I guess when the last campaign was happening, so before he became president, I was fascinated by watching the cable news coverage because, again, as an outsider looking in, you're kind of like, this is good shit. I mean, I literally we had popcorn delivered for the for the presidential debate a few weeks ago. We actually ordered on the phone, on the app, from the movie theater. We had popcorn delivered because it was just fascinating to watch the train wreck. You saw that debate. You know what happened. I'm not talking about the fly one with Pence. I'm talking about the Trump and Biden one. And it became entertaining, right? And so the novelty, though, again, for me as an outsider, wore off very quickly. I used to be watching Aaron Burnett out front on CNN every day, and then Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo and Morning Joe. But, Morning Joe 3, but even then, I kind of watch it at the very beginning for Joe Scarborough's, big rant, or Don Lemon's rant, or Chris Cuomo's rant. And then once they kind of die out and then bring on the guests or whatever is sort of when I'm done. I just, at 3 hours every morning of Morning Joe, I like to hear the sarcasm, have them make fun of the, the Trump scandal of the day, and then I'm good with that. Like, I don't know. Anyway, send me an email, live@jbonair.com.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
JB here, back on the Scribble. Now that fall is here, or autumn. Actually, which do you say? Do you say fall or autumn? Autumn I always imagine as being like hoity-toity rich people time. But it's interesting though too, because although I guess no, the word spring is something else as well, right? A spring is like a boing, 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 a spring, right? You have a spring in your step, you can have a little spring to make a, whatever, I don't know. And then fall is a word which could mean topple down or, whatever. And so I was going to say fall is more like a colloquialism or a slang, and then autumn is the actual season. I don't know. Somebody educate me. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com. But point is, now that it's getting darker earlier, my mom had mentioned that when we were out for a walk the other day. In the summer, we can go for a walk at, 8:30, 9 o'clock, and it's still bright outside. But we were walking in my neighborhood, and it was about 7 o'clock already, and the sun was setting. And it's interesting though, because she makes that comment, and I thought about it after, and I was like, that happens every year at this time. Like, we always kind of have this reaction, like it's never been dark this early before, or when winter comes around, like it's like we forgot how cold it was. But really, I've lived in Winnipeg for many years, although I must admit I do love wintering in California when we're in a normal setup taping our radio shows. What month is it? It's October. I wouldn't be in Los Angeles. I would be in Los Angeles in November. So yes, absolutely. I do love a good November evening in Los Angeles. It's a bit of a cool breeze. The first time that I was in LA, probably about 15 years ago or so, I remember hearing on the radio in the car, we were going somewhere, and the guy on the radio station said, oh, bundle up, grab somebody to hold on to tonight. It's going to be a cold one. And I remember walking through Universal and having like my coat open, and then you have all these people that are wearing like a toque and gloves and scarf, and I was like, this is great. Like, this is not cold at all. Anyway, so we kind of have this reaction about how dark it's getting so early. But I want to know from you, does your body also have a physical response to it? And what I'm getting at is that for the past week or so, when it actually kind of starts to get dark, and now it's getting dark at 6:30, 7 o'clock, like I said, for some reason I'm kind of like crashing on my couch when I'm at home. And what's weird though is that, yes, you might hear me on the radio first thing in the morning, but I'm gonna let you in on something. I am not live at 8 o'clock in the morning right now. I am telling you that as a fact. You're listening to me at 6, 7, 8 in the morning on a local radio station. I am not there in that moment. It was taped the night before. And so it's not like I've had like a full work day where I've been running around and doing stuff and then I just kind of crash and need a nap on the couch. Like, this it just hits me hard because maybe it just feels so late in the day. I don't know. But yeah, it's not like I've been running off my feet. I can't even say that I've been working, a full 8-hour day and in an office with people. I'm kind of, quite honestly, I mean, we're going to bed like very late at night and we're sleeping in until 10, 11, maybe noon some days. I know I'm not trying to rub it into the people that work a 9 to 5. But you also have to remember that broadcast and radio and news and stuff like that isn't a 9 to 5 job. So while you might be, cuddled up in your bed nice and warm at midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning, sometimes I'm still up working on a radio show, right? So it's a little bit different. But anyway, but I found that there's just something in my body that's like crashing almost immediately when it gets dark at night. And then I wake up. I mean, I'm full of energy, so it's not like I'm in a depression and I'm just like, oh, I'm just going to sleep right through to the morning now. I just kind of need that like 1 hour or whatever it ends up happening to be, and then I'm good to go because I do work in the evenings a lot of times on radio content. So is that weird? Like, again, the question is, does the season change kind of affect you physically? Like, are you tired more? Like for winter, I actually like waking up when it's still dark out and getting ready. I guess, again, I'm not necessarily getting up and leaving the house every day. I'm still going into an office every now and then, but there's just something I like about the winter morning, that it's kind of just more casual, dark, and low-key. But yes, it does certainly throw you off when you leave your house when it's dark in the morning, and then you come back to your house at night and it's dark again, right? It's almost kind of like, did daytime even happen? So... But I'm saying to just feel like exhausted. Now, it's not every day that it's happening to me. It's happened, I would say, in the last week. It's probably happened 3 times. It happened last night. I fell asleep just before the town halls. And then you've probably had this happen to you. If you've fallen asleep on the couch in the early evening, that you wake up and you look at the time and you see 9:30 or 8:30, and all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, I'm late for work. Because again, in the winter, right, it's still dark at that time. A lot of times, for the most part, depending on where you live. And then all of a sudden you get up and you're like, oh my God. But then on the TV, you're seeing those primetime shows that would be on at night. So then it kind of throws you off, and it's like, well, that's just a recorded show that I watch. Have you ever had that? Seriously, that's happened to me I don't know how many times. And then you kind of just laugh it off and go, oh my God, whatever, I can't believe that. But again, send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
JB here, back on the Scribble. I was told to remind you to go to entertainmentwrapup.com, entertainmentwrapup.com, because I recapped the celebrity tweets after the town halls on Thursday night. So I talked all about them on this podcast, but I didn't promote our own content, which was Entertainment Wrap Up, our daily entertainment headline show, entertainmentwrapup.com, as I recapped the celebrity tweets from the town halls last night. Okay, there we go. Anyway, do you ever get hurt and then have the outcome of that injury show up later? Here's what I mean by that. I'm doing terribly at kind of setting up what my point is. I should just cut to the chase. I'm Bidening is what's happening. What happened was my fingernail got caught on something a couple of hours ago, and in the moment, it's almost like when you get a paper cut. In the moment, you feel it, right? There's that shock, that jolt, and then you're kind of like, you're waiting for it to bleed, and then it doesn't. So you're like, okay, cool, whatever, nothing. And then it's that hour or two after that you then go back and look at your thumb or whatever finger or your toe or something, and you're like, oh shit, I'm bleeding. Okay, and it's stinging a little bit. But you have that little bit of a reprieve where it's, oh, okay, just that shock, oh, the sting of it, and then it's over. Well, that's what happened with my thumb not too long ago, and now it's just throbbing, and then I look and I was like, oh, I guess I was bleeding too at the same time. Didn't even realize it. And the same thing has happened a few times. I've got the big dog. If you've got big dogs who have the big paws and they're heavy and they weigh a lot, when they step on your foot, I mean, that hurts like a son of a bitch, right? And so when I ask them about WALK, one of them's right here, so I can't say the word. WALK, you know that, right? When I ask them if it's TIME for that, and they go nuts. Well, if one happens to be right beside me when I ask that, and one is sort of like a pouncer when he's excited, it's the front, like sort of his front paws, it's almost like he's jumping just with his front legs. And then that lands on you, or all of a sudden one that just goes running and happens to get your foot at the same time. I don't know how many gashes I have on my foot or feet from the time. And I should know better, right? I mean, I know they get very excited when you ask them about doing that. I should know not to stand near them, right? Or have like a barrier in between, or have what is it in football when they hold out those like big padded things and then they've got to push the person who's holding them? That's what I need. I need a barrier. I need a bubble to be in before I ask them about doing that. But anyway, so the point is that it hurts like a son of a bitch in the moment, and usually I'm not wearing socks for any time that I ask that. And then I go and look, and I'm like, okay, a bit of a scratch, right? It's just they scrape the skin, and that's that. No blood, nothing. So then we go for a walk after putting. Oops, I just said the word. After putting on my sock, we stroll around for the hour, whatever it is, and then I take off the shoes and I come and I look, and there's blood on my white sock. How did my foot get bloody? Oh right, I was attacked. I was mauled by my own dog before we left. So, but isn't it strange though? Like you don't feel as I'm walking, as I'm out there doing that. I don't feel the blood. I don't notice it. It's not really hurting. So it's that aftermath, the aftermath wrath, we'll call it. So I don't know. Just another pet story I thought I'd throw into the mix there. Again, send me an email live@jbonair.com. Remember, entertainmentwrapup.com for the latest celebrity news and gossip with yours truly, Jeremy Bradley. We're back after this on the Scribble.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
JB here, back on the Scribble. At the top of the show, I mentioned how this is around the time of the year when there was a major snowstorm in Winnipeg, Manitoba, my hometown. And when I'm on the radio, people know that my time is split between Winnipeg and West Hollywood. But at any given time, generally, people might not necessarily know where I am. And certain times of the year, I'm in Canada. Certain times of the year, I'm in Los Angeles. I'm not going to elaborate on my schedule, but it's usually dictated by award show season or the TV season. That's kind of generally how it works. And so for October, with Thanksgiving in October for Canada, I am often home with my family because it's a long weekend. Thanksgiving is on a Monday, so you usually get 3 or 4 days. Well, last year, I was in Los Angeles for work, and I guess people watched the news and saw that there was a big snowstorm in Winnipeg. So people on Twitter, listeners and people who follow me or what have you, were reaching out to me saying, I hope you're okay, I hope you're okay. But then friends and family in Winnipeg knew that I was in Los Angeles and saw on the news in Canada that there was this big wildfire in the LA area. So it was kind of interesting that people, and I appreciate the concern. I'm certainly not mocking or laughing at people, but it was just kind of weird because a lot of Canadians who haven't been to the Los Angeles area, I guess a lot of people who haven't been to the Los Angeles area don't realize that LA and West Hollywood are two different cities. It's not just one's a nickname or one's a neighborhood and the other. They're different cities. Granted, yes, you basically could go from one to the other and not even realize it, because where I am in West Hollywood, I'm literally walking distance to Los Angeles or Beverly Hills in the other direction. So, but anyway, so the point is that people were concerned that, like, oh my God, you're in LA and there's this big fire, and I'm like, I'm not near it. I'm far away from it. I'm okay, but thanks for your concern. And then you got these Americans going, are you okay with the snow, whatever? And I said, I'm not even there. The crazy thing about the snowstorm was that I left Canada just the day that it all started. So I wasn't even there for it. Like there was no snow on the ground when I left. There was no sign of winter. There was nothing like that. And then I left, and then I guess when I was coming back a few days later is again the same day that it all ended. And it was very eerie because when I got in, it was late at night. It was almost like a deserted town. Like it was just you see all these trees everywhere. There was barely any traffic, and I was like, this is kind of spooky. And then 2 years ago, now this would have actually been in November, but around this time, 2 years ago, I was in Panama, the country, and there was the hurricane hitting Panama City, Florida. And again, I've got all these people who knew that we were taping Christmas programming in Panama, but I guess just didn't realize the difference between the two, or maybe we didn't specify that it's not Florida. We're actually going to down south, quite far. And I'm getting all these texts from people like, let me know that you're okay. I'm watching. It looks pretty dangerous there. Meanwhile, get this. I'm on this like lavish boat cruise being pampered and in this lush like rainforest or whatever. And I was like, oh, like I knew the hurricane was happening. I knew that it was all playing out, but I guess I didn't make I didn't make the connection that people would make the connection that I could be in that place as well. I just figured they knew that we were going to, Central South America-ish in that region, not Florida. Anyway, one more Twitter mention, and then I'll be right back.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
I've done so much talking, I'm already losing my voice. Send me an email live at jbonair.com. This is The Scribble. Thanks so much for tuning in. Talk to you next week. Bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.